All right, we're going to start off with what's your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
Well, I'm John. I'm 41 years old, and I'm from a city called Landskrona in Sweden.
Perfect. And how did you become an Elvis fan?
Um, well, it was back in 1992. It was 15 years ago since Elvis passed, and I was about 8 years old. And Swedish television had this marathon, basically, where they broadcasted his movies, documentaries, um, concerts, whatever. And at this point, I already had quite a vague idea of who Elvis was, thanks to my dad. He has always been very music interested, so he had a big book at his office with this character all clad in gold, with black hair, and I was like, I was 8 years old, and to me, that was like the image of a superhero. That was so cool. I couldn't imagine a person cooler, really. Ironically, that turned out to be the Albert Goldman book. Um, but that was my first image of Elvis. Then with this marathon on Swedish television, I got hooked, and I was so interested in who this being was, and I had a feeling I just had to learn more about him. Um, and the things that I remember the most from this time period was seeing him doing the trouble sequence in King Creole. That
Mm.
was, uh, if you're looking for trouble, I was there, and then of course it was also Aloha from Hawaii.
Mhm.
Uh, I had kind of the same feeling when he walked on stage with all clad in white and the American Eagle.
Mhm.
Uh, that was so cool, and at this point, just a few weeks later, I had my grandmother who was working as, I don't know how to put this in English, but she works with sewing clothes at a shop.
She was a seamstress.
And yeah, that's right. So I had her uh, make me an Aloha suit at 8 years old. Uh, and I was so proud of that. So those two memories come to mind. But then also, as I watched, there was this the great performances hosted by Priscilla.
Mhm.
That was the first time I saw this Rapid City segment of Elvis performing Unchained Melody by the piano, and I couldn't really put it into words as a child, but I was kind of, I was so caught in this this tale of his life. How did he go from being this young, vibrant rock star, a rebel, to being kind of reduced to this character, which I didn't recognize at all? That grabbed me. I couldn't put it into words then, but that is still the thing that kind of brings me in today. How did he go from being basically king of the world to just kind of let it all perish?
Mhm.
Basically, I was so um, I was touched and moved by it, really, and I found it so sad, really. I remember, because you go through these stages of life, as I became an Elvis fan in such an early age. Then when I was coming into my teens, that was not a cool thing. Being an Elvis fan, no way.
Yeah.
And I remember I got a girlfriend, my first girlfriend, when I was 13 years old. Um, and the first time she visited my house, she came into my room, and I had it was plastered with Elvis posters all over.
Yeah.
And she started laughing. And I felt so ashamed. I was, oh my God, this is so uncool. And then after she left, I took it all down. Every single poster I put in a box and put it away for quite a long time. Really, it was always there, but a few years later I came over it, of course, and since then I've always been proud of it.
Yeah. Well, we have to talk about your Instagram account. So it's Aloha from El Perito,
Yeah,
and you have this. You do this amazing graphic design, and basically every day you're posting a different image of Elvis, and you have to tell me about that. But the reason I have to tell you the reason that I wanted to interview you is because one day I was imagining this kind of nerdy guy sitting behind his computer doing this Elvis art. And then you posted a picture of yourself with all of your tattoos and like kind of this, gruff looking guy. And I was like, who is this man that is such an Elvis fan doing this graphic design? So you have to tell me about how you got into doing graphic design, why, this is what you've decided to do to show your love for Elvis, and just tell us about your Instagram account.
yeah. Well, I've loved graphic design forever. When I was younger, this was at a time when folks were burning CDs and borrowing from each other and such. Um, I always when I borrowed a CD from a friend or something, I just I wanted it to feel official, like so. And I made these custom CD covers for these CDs, and then I brought it along into Spotify, and I yeah, I made these custom cover images for my playlists. But eventually you run out of playlists to make, but the need for doing these images were still there. So I was thinking I need an outlet for this.
Mhm.
So and then I was like, yeah, why not start like an account and just put them up there, because in that way at least I can go back and look at them. So uh, that was the start of it.
And people can actually, a lot of those images you end up putting on merchandise. You put on shirts or hats or something like
Yeah.
that. So if people want to purchase any of those, like how can they go about doing that?
I have a shop at T Public, and of course, there's a link in my bio at my Instagram page. So that is the easiest way to go about it. And just to show off, for
Yes,
the occasion, I'm wearing this, which is what? Oh,
it
yeah.
is. Oh, kind of.
So that
Yeah.
is a limited edition I did last month with the onstage uh, logo.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. They're all fabulous, and people should really take a deep dive in your Instagram. They're every single one of them I share. They're awesome. So you do a great job. But to kind of
Thank you
get
so
back
much.
into your about you and your you being an Elvis fan, have you ever had a chance to get over to Memphis and to get to Graceland?
We went for Elvis Week in 2012, and that is a trip uh, that I think about every day. No lie.
Yeah. What was that like? What was
The
that like to
experience.
finally get to go there and see the house and be in the meditation garden and like what was that like walking into his house for the first time?
Oh, that was so surreal. That was like this. It was a pilgrimage, really. And at first, I really couldn't understand that I was there. It was first when we walked into the trophy room, and they had uh, the American Eagle jumpsuit on display, and in the background there was this video of him doing an American trilogy, just blasting through the speakers, and it was at that point that that I really understood where I was, and I was so touched by it. It was I, I have to, yeah, I got a tear in my eye, really. And then I remember also walking through the jungle room, and I thought to myself, no camera or no photo in the world would do this experience justice. So I remember I kind of like I patted the wall just to feel it, uh, and thinking to me at the time, this is the memory I'll always cherish. No photo could ever capture this. And so that I can still feel the walls on my fingertips, especially since I love the Jungle Room recordings, and every time I listen to them, I go back to that feeling. It's yeah, really really hard to put into words. Um, I came to think of this quote by George Klein. I can't remember it exactly, but it's something along the lines of, um, "If you're an Elvis fan, no explanation is needed. If you're not an Elvis fan, no explanation is possible."
Yep.
Uh,
I get that 100%.
yeah.
So you finally get in there, you get to the meditation garden, being able to walk by Elvis's grave. I mean, what is that like for you?
Uh, I was just so caught up in the moment. I was, I, I think it's first a few years afterwards that I really understand what that did to me, and how important that was, to my fandom, for me being an Elvis fan. And this was kind of like my confirmation process in some way. And I'm so proud today whenever I speak of Elvis, you always get the question. So have you been to Graceland? And I'm always like, yes, I've
Yeah.
been to Graceland, and I'm so proud of it. Uh, and I see people, all over Instagram who live in the U.S. and who goes there like several times a year,
Mhm.
uh, and it gets me so jealous. Um, of course, I'd love to return, and I think it's in the pipeline. Don't know when though, but I'll definitely be going back, because that's, um, just being there where history was made, and feeling you understand the person, uh, looking through looking through Memphis with his eyes. It was so magic. Yeah.
So I have to ask about your family. So was your wife an Elvis fan before she met you?
Not to the extent that she is now.
Okay.
Uh, like we talked about it just the other day, and you can't get away with, you cannot not be an Elvis fan in this house. I'm not saying all my kids are fans, but they definitely get their share of Elvis every single day. And I'm not force feeding them anything, but I'm still so proud. I have four kids, all boys, and
Nice.
my oldest is 14, and they all know who Elvis was, and can kind of like retell his story in some ways. Um, and since I work a lot with younger kids and youths, I know that not a lot of younger people know who he even was. So I'm so proud of my kids that they can share this. Um, and I remember I went to uh, the Baz Luhrmann movie. I went 3 times. One time with my wife, and one time with my kids, and one time alone.
Mhm.
And my wife, after we walked out, she was so she was so touched by it. So as we walked out from the theater, she started crying, and that was such a emotional moment for me as well, seeing her sharing my passion and really getting into the spirit and humanity of Elvis Presley. And I remember my oldest son, when we walked out from the theater, when I went with them, he looked at me and he said, "Dad, I think now I really understand why you like Elvis so much."
Mm.
And that was, I was, you know, I was so grateful. I was so grateful because they got this chance to see um, my experience of Elvis, and they could put take their own pieces of that into their own perception. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I came from the Elvis movie. I became a fan after the movie, and I mean, there was something in that film that gave him such humanity. And I don't think we could have asked for a better person in Baz Luhrmann to bring that movie to the masses because
Right.
you can tell he genuinely cared for Elvis and just wanted to tell that story. So I absolutely agree with your kids on that one. So how would your life be different if you did not have Elvis in it?
And of course, my life without Elvis would be completely different. Um, he's my emotional soundtrack,
Mm.
and he's without sounding too cheesy, I'd like to say that he's there when I'm happy or when I'm sad or pissed off or whatever. Um, and I used to say this whenever people ask me that if I play Elvis, I can feel at home anywhere in the world. That's all it takes. Just hearing a song of his, and I feel at home. And I think that everyone who knows me, they would tell you that Elvis defines me. And also, as I discovered him in such a young age, this was something that opened doors to my perception of music, culture, religion, or even geography. Um, so, being an Elvis fan is it's not just a hobby or something. It's a lifestyle, and I'm proud of it.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. This has been so interesting and to hear a perspective and also hearing like a male perspective because we don't get that as often as we'd like to. And I appreciate the artwork that you're doing and keep doing it because I think it's so beautiful and I think that more people need to express themselves artistically for Elvis. So again, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you, Diane. It has been such a great fun. Thank you.